Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth as effortlessly as breathing while others work themselves to exhaustion and still find their pockets empty at the end of each month? This question has haunted humanity for centuries, and yet the answer has always been hidden in plain sight, waiting in the silent depths of your own mind. Tonight, you stand at the threshold of understanding something so profound, so fundamentally transformative, that if you truly receive it into the deepest chambers of your heart, your entire relationship with money, abundance, and prosperity will be forever changed. You did not arrive at this moment by accident. There is no coincidence in the universe of mind. Something within you, that still, small voice that knows truths your conscious mind is yet to accept, has guided you here because you are ready. You are ready to discover the frequency of wealth that has always existed within you, dormant perhaps, but never absent. You are ready to learn why money flows towards certain individuals like water finding its natural course, and why it has perhaps seemed to flow away from you. You are ready to activate the invisible laws that govern all prosperity. What you are about to hear is not theory. It is not wishful thinking. It is a science of the subconscious mind applied to the realm of abundance, and it has transformed the lives of countless individuals who once believed themselves destined for financial struggle. If this message resonates with your spirit, if you feel that inner recognition that comes when truth speaks to truth, I invite you to subscribe to this channel as an act of commitment to your own transformation. Press the like button as a declaration of faith that your financial life is already beginning to change. And leave in the comments the sacred words, "I am now attuned to my wealth frequency." Let this be your first act of mental agreement with the abundance that is seeking you even as you seek it. Now, settle into a place of receptivity. Quiet the noise of the outer world. What follows is a transmission of wisdom that speaks not merely to your intellect, but to the creative power that dwells within you. There is a frequency at which wealth vibrates, and there is a frequency at which you vibrate. And the distance between these two frequencies determines the distance between you and the financial abundance you desire. This is not metaphor. This is not poetry. This is a fundamental law of how mind interacts with the material world, and understanding it will change everything you have ever believed about money and your ability to attract it. You must first understand that you are not a physical being trying to have a spiritual experience. You are consciousness itself, temporarily focused in physical form. And the world you see around you is not the cause of your experience, but the effect of it. Every circumstance in your life, including your financial circumstances, is an outpicturing of inner states of mind that have been impressed upon your subconscious. This is why two people can begin with identical opportunities and end in vastly different financial positions. It is not luck. It is not fate. It is the operation of mental law, as precise and reliable as the laws that govern mathematics. The subconscious mind is a creative medium of your existence. It does not argue. It does not reason. It does not question whether the impressions it receives are true or false, beneficial or harmful, abundant or lacking. It simply accepts and manifests. Like fertile soil that grows whatever seed is planted in it, whether rose or weed, your subconscious produces in your outer world whatever you plant in its depths through your habitual thoughts, your dominant feelings, and your innermost beliefs about yourself and your relationship to wealth. Consider this carefully. If you believe, in the secret places of your heart, that money is difficult to acquire, that rich people are somehow dishonest, that you do not deserve abundance, or that there is never enough, these beliefs are seeds planted in the garden of your subconscious. And what grows from these seeds? Experiences that confirm exactly what you believe, opportunities that slip through your fingers, expenses that arise unexpectedly, a constant sense of lack no matter how much you earn. But here's the glorious truth that changes everything. You can replant this garden. You can remove the weeds of poverty consciousness and plant instead the seeds of abundance. The subconscious does not care which seeds it grows. It is infinitely willing to produce wealth just as easily as it has produced lack. All that is required is that you learn to impress upon it the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs of prosperity. The scripture declares in Proverbs 23 verse 7, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Notice carefully that it does not say as a man thinketh in his head. The heart represents the subconscious mind, the feeling nature, the deep creative center where beliefs are held and from which reality is projected. You can think positive thoughts all day long in your conscious mind, but if your heart, your subconscious, holds a belief of poverty, poverty will continue to manifest. The transformation must go deeper than surface thinking. It must penetrate to the level of feeling, to the level of conviction, to the level of accepted truth. I once knew a man named Harold who spent 30 years in a profession he despised, earning barely enough to keep his family housed and fed. He was intelligent. He was hard-working. He arose before dawn and returned home after dark. And yet prosperity seemed always just beyond his reach, like a horizon that moved away from him no matter how far he walked toward it. When Harold first learned of the creative power of the subconscious mind, he was skeptical. He had tried positive thinking. He had repeated affirmations. He had visualized money coming to him, and none of it had worked. He was ready to dismiss these teachings as fantasy for the gullible. But then Harold made a crucial discovery. He realized that while his conscious mind had been saying, "I am wealthy and money flows to me easily," his subconscious had been simultaneously broadcasting a completely different message. Deep within him lived the unexamined belief that he was not the kind of person to whom wealth came. His father had been poor. His grandfather had been poor. Somewhere in childhood, he had absorbed a conviction that people like him, good, honest, hard-working people, simply did not become rich. Wealth was for others. For him, there would always be struggle. This hidden belief had been overriding every affirmation, canceling every visualization, defeating every conscious effort at prosperity. The subconscious, receiving two contradictory messages, always defaults to the one held with deeper feeling, and Harold's feeling of unworthiness and limitation was far stronger than his surface wishes for abundance. The moment Harold recognized this, everything began to change. He stopped trying to convince himself of something he did not believe. Instead, he began the patient work of actually changing what he believed. Every night before sleep, he would enter a state of deep relaxation and gently present to his subconscious mind the feeling of being a prosperous man. Not the words, but the feeling. He imagined what it would feel like to look at his bank account and see abundance. He imagined the relaxation in his body that would come from knowing all his needs were met. He imagined the joy of giving generously without concern. He did not strain. He did not force. He simply relaxed into the feeling as though it were already true, and then he drifted off to sleep with that feeling as a last impression upon his mind. Within 3 months, Harold received an unexpected offer to purchase a small piece of land he had inherited years ago and forgotten about. The offer was substantial, more money than he had ever possessed at one time. Within 6 months, a former colleague contacted him about a business opportunity that aligned perfectly with his skills. Within a year, Harold's income had tripled, and within 3 years, he had achieved a level of financial freedom he once believed impossible. What changed in Harold's external world? Nothing and everything. The land had always been there. The colleague had always existed. The opportunities had always been present in the field of infinite possibility. But Harold had not been a vibrational match for them. His subconscious, broadcasting poverty and limitation, had literally repelled the very abundance that was trying to reach him. When his internal frequency changed, his external world had no choice but to rearrange itself to match. This is what it means to activate your wealth frequency. It is not about working harder. It is not about getting lucky. It is not about manipulating people or circumstances. It is about changing the signal you are broadcasting from the depths of your being, and then watching in wonder as the universe reorganizes itself to match that signal. The technique of pre-sleep impression is one of the most powerful methods ever discovered for communicating with the subconscious mind. In those drowsy moments before sleep claims you, the conscious mind relaxes its guard, the critical faculty softens, and the doorway to the subconscious swings wide open. Whatever you place in your mind in those moments sinks deeply into creative soil and begins to germinate while you sleep. This is why it is so important to monitor your mental state before sleep. If you fall asleep worried about bills, replaying financial fears, or feeling the weight of lack, you are programming your subconscious with poverty while your conscious resistance is at its lowest. You are planting seeds of scarcity in the most fertile ground of your mental garden. But if you fall asleep feeling the reality of abundance, imagining scenes that imply wealth, experiencing in your mind's eye the freedom and joy of prosperity, you are using the same law to work in your favor. The subconscious receives these impressions without resistance and immediately goes to work manifesting them in your outer experience. The key is not the words you think, but the feeling you generate. The subconscious mind does not understand language in the way the conscious mind does. It understands feeling. It understands imagery. It understands the state you are in. You could repeat, I am wealthy 10,000 times, but if each repetition carries a feeling of doubt, of wishing it were true, of recognizing that it is not yet true, the subconscious receives a message of lack, not abundance. Instead, you must learn to generate the feeling first and let the thought arise from that feeling. Ask yourself, how would I feel if I were already financially free? How would my body feel? How would I breathe? How would I move through the world? What would be the quality of my thoughts if abundance were already my reality? When you can generate that feeling genuinely, even for a few moments, you have struck the tuning fork of wealth within you. And when you hold that feeling as you drift into sleep, you have planted a seed that must grow, for such is the law of mind. Let me speak now of another principle that many seekers of wealth overlook, and their overlooking of it keeps them in poverty even when they have learned the laws of mind. This is a principle of non-resistance, and it is essential to your financial transformation. Most people who are in financial difficulty spend a great deal of mental and emotional energy fighting against their circumstances. They wake up and immediately confront the reality of bills unpaid, debts accumulated, opportunities missed. They feel anger at their situation. They feel fear about the future. They feel shame about their present state. And all of this feeling is energy directed toward the very thing they do not want. What you resist persists. This is not merely a clever saying. It is a statement of mental law. When you push against something, you give it your attention. When you give it your attention, you give it your energy. When you give it your energy, you feed it. And what you feed grows. The wealthy consciousness does not resist poverty. It does not fight against lack. It simply turns away from appearances and fixes its attention on the truth of abundance. It acknowledges present circumstances without being enslaved by them. It says, in effect, yes, this is what appears to be, but it is not the truth of my being. The truth of my being is infinite abundance, and I now align myself with that truth. This is not denial. You are not pretending that bills do not exist or that your bank account does not show the numbers it shows. You are simply recognizing that these appearances are temporary outpicturings of previous mental states and that they have no power to determine your future unless you give them that power through your continued attention and emotional reaction. The Gospel of Matthew records the profound teaching, Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The kingdom of God is not a place in the sky. It is a state of consciousness. It is the awareness of your unity with infinite intelligence, with a creative power that formed all things and sustains all things. When you seek first this awareness, when you align yourself with the source of all abundance rather than fighting against the appearance of lack, you position yourself to receive all these things, including financial prosperity. There was a woman I shall call Margaret who found herself in desperate financial circumstances following the sudden death of her husband. He had managed all their finances, and she discovered after his passing that they were not merely poor but deeply in debt. Creditors called daily. Foreclosure notices arrived in the mail. At 62 years old, with no work experience and declining health, Margaret saw no way forward. A friend gave her a small book about the power of the subconscious mind, and Margaret, having nothing left to lose, began to practice its teachings. Every night, she would lie in bed and imagine receiving unexpected money. She did not know where it could possibly come from, but she followed the instruction to feel the reality of it without needing to know the how. One night, as she lay in this peaceful state of imagination, a particular scene became very vivid. She imagined herself sitting at her kitchen table, opening an envelope, and finding a check for a substantial amount. She felt the paper in her hands. She felt the surprise and joy. She felt the relief washing over her. She fell asleep in this state. 3 weeks later, Margaret received a letter from an attorney she had never heard of, representing the estate of a distant uncle she had met only twice in her life. This uncle, a bachelor with no children of his own, had left his entire estate to be divided among his nieces and nephews. Margaret's share came to an amount that not only cleared all her debts but provided for her comfort for the remainder of her life. Now, the skeptical mind will say this was coincidence. But those who understand the law of mind know that there are no coincidences in a universe governed by mental causation. Margaret's uncle had been alive and his estate had been in process of settlement for months before she ever began her mental practice. But she had not been a vibrational match for receiving this abundance. Her mind had been focused entirely on lack, on fear, on desperation. She was broadcasting a frequency that could not receive the wealth that was already making its way toward her. When she changed her mental frequency, when she began to feel and imagine abundance regardless of appearances, she became a receiver capable of allowing in what the infinite intelligence of the universe was already sending. The money was not created by her imagination. It was received by her imagination. This is a crucial distinction. You do not create wealth out of nothing with your mind. You tune yourself to the wealth that already exists in the infinite field of possibility and allow it to manifest through the channels appropriate to your life. This understanding liberates you from the exhausting belief that you must figure everything out, that you must know the exact source and channel through which your abundance will come. You do not need to know the how. The infinite intelligence that governs all things knows the how. Your task is simply to hold the feeling, maintain the frequency, and allow the manifestation to occur in its own perfect way and timing. Isaiah 45 verses 2-3 expresses this beautifully. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron, and I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places. This is a promise of infinite intelligence to the one who trusts in its guidance. The crooked places of your financial life will be made straight. The gates that have kept you from prosperity will be broken. The treasures hidden from your conscious awareness will be revealed. But you must trust. You must maintain your mental frequency even when appearances seem to contradict it. You must not fall back into the old patterns of fear and lack the moment a bill arrives or an expected source of income fails to materialize. This is where so many seekers fail. They practice the laws of mind for a few days, perhaps a few weeks, and when instant results do not appear, they conclude that the teachings do not work and return to their old mental habits. They do not understand that the subconscious mind operates in cycles, that impressions require time to move from the inner world to the outer world, that faith must be sustained through the period of apparent nothingness before the manifestation appears. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in spring. For weeks, perhaps months, he sees nothing above the ground. The field appears as empty and barren as before he planted. If the farmer is foolish, he might conclude that nothing is happening, that the seeds have failed, that he has wasted his effort. He might dig up the ground to check, disturbing the very process of growth. He might give up and plant something else, never allowing the first seed to complete their cycle. But the wise farmer understands that growth is occurring beneath the surface, invisible to his eyes but absolutely real. He trusts the law of seed time and harvest. He waters the ground. He keeps faith. And in due season, the shoots appear, the plants grow, and the harvest comes forth in abundance. So it is with the seeds you plant in your subconscious mind. There is always a period between planting and harvest, between impression and expression, between the inner feeling of wealth and its outer manifestation. During this period, you must be like the wise farmer. You must keep faith. You must continue to water your mental seeds with feelings of abundance. You must not dig them up with doubt or destroy them with fear. The scripture speaks of this in Mark 11 verse 24. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Notice the tense, believe that you receive them, present tense, and you shall have them, future tense. The belief must come before the having. The feeling of possession must precede the physical manifestation. This is a law, and it cannot be circumvented. There was a young entrepreneur I shall call David who came to understand this principle when he was seeking investors for a business venture that existed only in his mind and on paper. He had a brilliant idea, a clear plan, but no money to implement it and no track record to inspire confidence in potential backers. David had learned of the power of subconscious impression, and he determined to apply it systematically. Every night for 6 weeks, he would enter his pre-sleep state and imagine himself in a meeting with enthusiastic investors who were eager to fund his venture. He would hear their words of approval. He would see the contracts being signed. He would feel the handshakes that seal the deals. He made this imaginal scene so real that he often drifted into sleep with a smile on his face. During those 6 weeks, nothing changed in David's outer world. He continued to make calls, send proposals, and receive rejections. But he did not allow the rejections to change his inner state. He treated them as the old harvest of previous mental states, now coming forth, while knowing that his new mental seeds would produce a new harvest in time. In the 7th week, David received a call from someone he had contacted months earlier, someone who had initially shown no interest. This person had been thinking about the proposal and had discussed it with colleagues who had access to substantial capital. Could David meet with them next week? That meeting led to another, and within 3 months, David had secured more than enough funding to launch his venture. Within 2 years, the business was thriving, and David had achieved a level of success that those who had known him in his poverty could scarcely believe. What David discovered, and what you must understand, is that the world of infinite intelligence operates outside of linear time. Your mental impressions do not have to work through the slow processes that seem to govern physical causation. They can attract, arrange, and orchestrate events that appear miraculous but are simply the natural operation of a law that most people do not understand and therefore cannot use. The question is not whether this law works. The law is always working. The question is only whether it is working for your prosperity or against it, and that is determined entirely by the nature of the impressions you are consistently making upon your subconscious mind. Let me speak now of the relationship between your individual mind and the infinite intelligence that permeates all existence, for this understanding is crucial to activating your wealth frequency to its fullest power. You are not separate from the source of all abundance. This is a fundamental error of the poverty-stricken mind. The belief in separation, the conviction that abundance is somewhere out there and must be obtained, grasped, fought for, and protected. This belief creates the very lack it fears. The truth is that you are an individualization of infinite intelligence. The same creative power that formed the galaxies and sustains the stars flows through you at every moment. You are not a separate being trying to access a distant power. You are that power expressing itself in individual form. The ocean is not separate from its waves. The sun is not separate from its rays, and the infinite source of all wealth is not separate from you. When you truly understand this, your relationship with money changes profoundly. You no longer feel that you must struggle and strain to get what belongs to someone else. You recognize that there is a supply that is infinite, that never diminishes, that is available to all who know how to receive it. Your abundance does not take from anyone else. Your wealth does not impoverish your neighbor. There is enough for all, and your prosperity actually contributes to the prosperity of the whole. Psalm 23 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This is not merely a comforting poem. It is a statement of metaphysical truth. When you recognize that infinite intelligence is guiding your life, that the creative power of the universe is your shepherd, you understand that lack is impossible. Want is not your destiny. Abundance is your birthright. And the only thing that has ever kept you from it is your own mistaken belief in separation and scarcity. As you absorb these teachings, as you allow them to penetrate beyond your intellect into the feeling nature of your subconscious mind, you are already beginning to change. The very act of receiving this wisdom with openness and faith is planting new seeds in the garden of your mind. You are already beginning to vibrate at a higher frequency. You are already becoming more of a match for the wealth that seeks you. Do not underestimate the power of what is happening within you in this very moment. The universe does not distinguish between large transformations and small ones, between the wealth of nations and the prosperity of a single individual. The same law that operates on the cosmic scale operates within the privacy of your own consciousness, and that law is responding to you right now in accordance with the state of your mind and heart. In the teachings that follow, we will go deeper still into the techniques and principles that activate your wealth frequency. We will explore the power of mental imagery in greater detail. We will examine the role of gratitude in accelerating manifestation. We will discuss the release of old beliefs that have blocked your abundance and the installation of new beliefs that support your prosperity. But for now, let this sink in. You are not poor and trying to become rich. You are infinite abundance temporarily experiencing the illusion of limitation because of beliefs that were impressed upon your subconscious before you knew how to protect it. Those beliefs can be changed. That limitation can be lifted. The abundance that is your true nature can be expressed in your outer life as financial freedom, material plenty, and a relationship with money that is joyful, peaceful, and free. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operation of mental law, and it is as available to you as it has been to every person who has ever discovered and applied it. Your wealth frequency is real. It is activatable, and the very fact that you have heard this message suggests that your activation has already begun. Rest in this knowledge. Let it comfort you as you sleep tonight. Let it strengthen you as you face whatever circumstances tomorrow brings. And know, with absolute certainty, that the power within you is greater than any condition around you. The infinite intelligence that has brought you this far will carry you forward into abundance beyond your current imagination. The understanding you now carry is a living seed, and like all living things, it seeks to grow, to expand, to express itself fully in the garden of your experience. What was planted in the first portion of this teaching now requires nurturing, and the nurturing comes through deeper understanding and consistent application. So let us continue this sacred journey into the activation of your wealth frequency, for there is much more to reveal. We spoke of the feeling nature of manifestation, of how the subconscious mind responds not to words but to the emotional quality of your inner states. Now we must explore this more fully, for here is where many owner-seekers stumble. They understand intellectually that feeling is important, but they do not know how to generate feeling on demand. They wait for circumstances to make them feel prosperous, not realizing that this is the exact reversal of how the law operates. You must feel wealthy before wealth appears. You must generate the inner state independent of outer confirmation. This seems impossible to the untrained mind, which has spent a lifetime believing that feelings are effects, not causes. But I tell you with complete certainty that feelings are the primary cause of all manifestation, and learning to generate them deliberately is a master skill of conscious creation. How? Then, do you feel wealthy when your bank account is empty? How do you feel abundant when bills are overdue? How do you generate the frequency of prosperity when every evidence of your senses tells you that you are poor? The answer lies in the correct use of imagination. Imagination is not fantasy. It is not escape. It is a creative workshop of the mind, the place where all things are formed before they appear in the physical world. Every building you have ever entered existed first in the imagination of an architect. Every machine you have ever used was first a mental image in the mind of an inventor. Every song you have ever loved was first heard in the inner ear of a composer. Imagination is the first cause, and physical reality is the second effect. When you use your imagination to construct scenes that imply wealth, and when you enter those scenes fully enough that you experience the feelings they would generate, you are doing the creative work that precedes manifestation. You are not pretending. You are not lying to yourself. You are using the tool you were given to shape the formless substance of possibility into the specific form of your desire. Let me give you a technique that many have found powerful. In your quiet moments, when you are relaxed and undisturbed, close your eyes and imagine yourself in a specific scene that would only be true if you were already wealthy. Do not imagine money itself, for money is abstract and difficult to feel. Instead, imagine a scene that implies money, a scene that could only occur if financial abundance were already yours. Perhaps you imagine yourself walking through the home of your dreams, running your hand along the smooth surface of a countertop, looking out windows that frame the view you have always wanted. Perhaps you imagine yourself at a fine restaurant, ordering without looking at prices, feeling the complete absence of financial worry. Perhaps you imagine yourself writing a generous check to a cause you believe in, feeling the joy of giving without any sense of sacrifice or depletion. Whatever scene you choose, make it specific. Make it sensory. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel the textures, smell the aromas, and most importantly, feel the feelings. Let the peace of financial security wash through your body. Let the joy of abundance brighten your inner world. Let the gratitude for this blessed life fill your heart to overflowing. This is not make-believe. This is make-real. You are using the creative faculty of imagination to generate real feelings, and those feelings are the signal that your subconscious mind receives and acts upon. The subconscious does not know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a physically lived one. It responds to both with equal creative power. There was a woman I shall call Eleanor who had struggled financially for the entirety of her adult life. She had worked hard, saved when she could, but there was always some crisis, some unexpected expense, some reversal that wiped out whatever small gain she had made. By her mid-50s, Eleanor had resigned herself to the belief that financial freedom would never be hers. When Eleanor encountered these teachings, something stirred within her. She recognized the truth of what she was hearing, even though it contradicted everything her experience had seemed to prove. She decided to practice the technique of imaginative scenes with complete dedication. Every morning upon waking and every night before sleeping, Eleanor would close her eyes and imagine herself sitting with a financial advisor, reviewing her investment statements. In her imagination, she saw the numbers clearly, large numbers, growing numbers, numbers that represented complete security. She felt the advisor congratulating her on her excellent position. She felt her own calm satisfaction, the peace of knowing that she would never again worry about money. Eleanor practiced this for 4 months with unwavering consistency. During those months, her outer circumstances did not change. The same limited income continued to flow. The same modest apartment continued to house her. Nothing in the visible world suggested that anything was different. But Eleanor understood the law. She knew that the subconscious mind works in cycles, that seeds require time to germinate, that faith must be maintained through the period of apparent nothingness. She continued her practice with patient trust. In the 5th month, Eleanor received a call from a former employer, a company she had left more than a decade earlier. Due to a legal settlement of which she had been unaware, former employees were entitled to compensation. Eleanor's share, based on her years of service, was substantial. Combined with a small inheritance that arrived weeks later from an aunt she barely remembered, Eleanor found herself with more money than she had ever possessed. She invested wisely, following the guidance that came to her from within. She made decisions that seemed unreasonable to others but felt right to her. Within 3 years, Eleanor's investment had grown to the point where she could live comfortably on the interest alone. The scene she had imagined with a financial advisor became her literal, physical reality. What created this transformation? Was it luck? Was it coincidence? To the uninitiated, it might appear so. But Eleanor knew better. She had changed her inner frequency. She had planted seeds of abundance in her subconscious mind through the daily practice of imaginative scenes. And the subconscious, ever faithful to its nature, had produced a harvest matching the seeds that were sown. This is available to you. This is not a special gift for special people. This is the operation of universal law, as available to you as sunlight and air. The only question is whether you will use it deliberately and consistently, or whether you will continue to use it unconsciously in ways that perpetuate your present circumstances. Now let us speak of gratitude, for gratitude is a great accelerator of manifestation. It is a multiplying force that takes the seeds you plant and causes them to produce 30, 60, or 100-fold. Why is gratitude so powerful? Because gratitude is a feeling of having received. When you are genuinely grateful, you are acknowledging completion. You are not hoping, not wishing, not waiting. You are thanking, which can only occur when something has already been given. This is why Jesus taught in Mark 11 verse 24 to believe that you receive present tense and you shall have future tense. Gratitude is the emotional expression of present tense receiving. When you give thanks for abundance before it appears, you are aligning your feeling nature with the frequency of completion. You are telling your subconscious mind that the desire is fulfilled. And the subconscious, receiving this signal, accelerates its work to manifest in the outer world what you have already acknowledged in the inner world. But the gratitude must be genuine. It cannot be a technique performed with hollow words. The subconscious is not fooled by empty phrases. It responds to the authentic feeling behind the words. Therefore, you must find a way to genuinely feel grateful for abundance before it appears. One way to cultivate this is to begin with gratitude for what you already have. Look around your life and find everything, no matter how small, for which you can sincerely give thanks. The air you breathe, the food you ate today, the roof over your head, even if it is modest, the people who love you, the capacity to see, to hear, to think, to imagine, the very fact that you are alive and conscious in this magnificent universe. As you practice gratitude for what is, you develop the capacity for gratitude itself. You strengthen the gratitude muscle. And then, when you extend that gratitude to include things that have not yet manifested, the feeling is authentic because you have cultivated the genuine spirit of thankfulness. Each night, before you enter your imaginative scene of abundance, take a few moments to give thanks. Thank the infinite intelligence for the breath in your lungs. Thank the creative power for the gift of consciousness. Thank the source of all abundance for the prosperity that is even now making its way to you, arranging itself in perfect ways, preparing to appear at the perfect time. Feel this gratitude as a warm glow in your heart. Let it expand until it fills your entire being. And then, from the state of thankfulness, enter your imaginative scene. The combination of gratitude and imagination is extraordinarily powerful. Gratitude opens the channels through which abundance can flow. Imagination directs the flow into specific forms. Together, they create a force that can move mountains, or more accurately, remove the mental mountains that have blocked your prosperity. The scripture in Philippians 4 verse 19 declares, "My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory." Notice that it says all your need, not some of your need. Notice that the supply comes according to his riches, which are infinite, not according to your earning power or the state of the economy. When you align yourself with this truth through gratitude and imagination, you open yourself to receive from a supply that knows no limitation. Now we must address a matter of great importance: the release of old beliefs that have kept you in bondage to lack. For many who come to these teachings have been deeply programmed with poverty consciousness since childhood. Their parents worried about money. Their communities struggle with scarcity. Their religion may have taught them that poverty is virtuous and wealth is suspicious. These beliefs have been impressed upon the subconscious mind thousands of times over many years, and they will not dissolve without deliberate attention. You must identify the beliefs that have been blocking your abundance. This requires honest self-examination. What do you really believe about money? What do you believe about wealthy people? What do you believe about your own capacity to be rich? What do you believe about the relationship between spirituality and material abundance? Some people secretly believe that money is dirty, that the pursuit of wealth is somehow base or unspiritual. They hold this belief unconsciously while consciously declaring that they want to be prosperous. But the subconscious holds a deeper belief, and so it faithfully produces circumstances that keep them from the money they believe to be dainty. Others believe that there is not enough to go around, that if they become wealthy, someone else must become poor. They hold a mental image of a limited pie that must be divided, rather than an infinite supply that expands to meet all needs. This belief in scarcity keeps them from receiving abundance because their subconscious is trying to protect them from becoming the cause of another's lack. Still others believe that they personally do not deserve wealth. Perhaps they made mistakes in the past. Perhaps they absorbed messages of unworthiness in childhood. Whatever the source, they carry a deep conviction that abundance is for others, not for them. And the subconscious, always faithful to accepted beliefs, arranges circumstances to confirm this self-judgment. You must root out these beliefs and replace them with truth. The truth is that money is neither good nor evil. It is a tool that takes on the character of its user. The truth is that abundance is infinite, that your wealth does not impoverish anyone, that there is more than enough for all. The truth is that you are a child of the infinite, deserving of all the good that the universe contains, not because of what you have done, but because of what you are. One powerful technique for releasing old beliefs is to write them down, examine them in the light of truth, and deliberately replace them with new beliefs. Take a piece of paper and write at the top, "False beliefs I have held about money and wealth." Then write down every negative, limiting belief you can identify. Do not censor yourself. Let them all come out into the light. When you have completed this list, take another piece of paper and write, "True beliefs I now accept about money and wealth." For each false belief on the first list, write a corresponding truth on the second. If you wrote money is hard to acquire, now write money flows easily to those who expect it and welcome it. If you wrote wealthy people are dishonest, now write wealth allows good people to do great good in the world. If you wrote I do not deserve abundance, now write as a creation of infinite love, I deserve all the good the universe contains. Burn or destroy the first list as a symbolic release of the old beliefs. Keep the second list and read it every day, allowing these new truths to sink into your subconscious through repetition and feeling. There was a man I shall call Victor who carried a particularly stubborn false belief. His father had been a brilliant businessman who achieved great wealth, but had been absent from Victor's childhood, always working, never available. Victor grew up associating wealth with the loss of love, with paternal abandonment, with loneliness. Deep in his subconscious lived the belief that if he became wealthy, he would become like his father and lose connection with those he loved. This belief sabotaged every opportunity Victor encountered. He would get close to financial success, and then something would always go wrong. He would make poor decisions. He would drive away partners. He would snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and he could not understand why. When Victor finally identified this hidden belief, he wept. He saw clearly how he had been unconsciously protecting himself and his future family from the pattern he had experienced with his father. He had been choosing poverty as a form of love. But now Victor could see that this equation was false. Wealth had not made his father distant. His father's choices had made him distant. Another person could be wealthy and also present, generous with time as well as money, connected rather than isolated. Victor's unconscious sacrifice had been based on a lie. Victor spent months deliberately reprogramming this belief. He imagined himself as a wealthy father, fully present with his children, his abundance enhancing rather than diminishing his family connection. He looked for and found examples of people who were both financially successful and deeply loving. He repeated affirmations that linked wealth with family closeness. Within a year, Victor's financial life transformed. Opportunities that had somehow slipped away in the past now stayed and multiplied. His income tripled, then tripled again. And rather than creating distance in his relationships, his prosperity allowed him to spend more time with loved ones, to create experiences of connection, to give in ways he had never been able to give before. The false belief had held Victor captive for decades. Identifying and replacing it set him free. What false beliefs might be holding you captive? What invisible chains of the mind might be keeping you in a prison of lack? The very fact that you are hearing this teaching suggests that you are ready to identify and release them. Let us speak now of persistence, for this quality is essential to your success with these principles. The law of mind always works, but it does not always work on your timetable. There is often a period of waiting, of apparent non-manifestation, when it seems that nothing is happening despite your faithful practice. This period tests your faith. It reveals whether you truly believe or are merely hoping. Many begin with enthusiasm. They practice their imaginative scenes. They repeat their affirmations. They feel the reality of abundance. And for a few days, perhaps a few weeks, they are faithful. But when the manifestation does not appear according to their schedule, they begin to doubt. The doubt grows into discouragement. The discouragement becomes abandonment. And they conclude that the teachings do not work. But the teachings always work. The law of mind is as reliable as gravity. What fails is not the law but the practitioner's faith. They give up one day before the miracle. They stop watering the seed just before it would have broken through the soil. They turn back when they were closer to the treasure than they ever knew. Jesus spoke of this in the parable of the persistent widow who kept coming to the unjust judge until he granted her request. The lesson was not that God is an unjust judge who must be worn down by nagging. The lesson was that persistence prevails. The universe responds to sustained conviction. The subconscious mind acts on deeply impressed beliefs, not on fleeting wishes. How long must you persist? Until the manifestation appears. There is no other answer. You persist in your faith until it becomes fact. You continue to impress abundance upon your subconscious until abundance appears in your circumstances. You keep watering the seed until the harvest comes. This does not mean you strain and struggle. Persistence is not the same as effort. You can persist with ease. You can maintain your faith while remaining relaxed and peaceful. In fact, the relaxed persistence is more effective than the tense striving, because tension communicates doubt to the subconscious while relaxation communicates trust. Think of the farmer again. He does not stand over his field straining to make the crops grow. He plants, he waters, he waits. His trust is quiet but absolute. He knows a harvest will come because he understands the law of seed time and harvest. He does not need to make it happen. He simply needs to allow it to happen by not interfering with the natural process. Your persistence should have this quality. You persist in holding the feeling of abundance. You persist in practicing your imaginative scenes. You persist in expressing gratitude for prosperity that is on its way. But you do so with trust, with ease, with the quiet confidence of one who knows the law and knows that it cannot fail. I knew a salesman I shall call Thomas who applied these principles to transform his career. For years, Thomas had struggled to meet his quotas. He watched his colleagues with less talent achieve greater success. He worked hard, but the results never matched his effort. When Thomas learned of the creative power of the subconscious mind, he committed to practicing its principles with complete dedication. Every night before sleep, he would imagine himself at the annual sales conference, receiving the award for top producer. He felt the weight of the trophy in his hands. He heard the applause of his colleagues. He saw his name on the plaque. He experienced the pride and satisfaction of achievement. For 6 months, Thomas practiced this nightly ritual without any visible change in his results. His sales remained mediocre. His ranking stayed in the middle of the pack. To his conscious mind, it seemed that the practice was not working. But Thomas had committed to persist until his mental image became physical reality. He did not set a deadline for the universe. He did not demand that manifestation occur by a certain date. He simply kept faith, kept practicing, kept impressing the image upon his subconscious with the regularity of a heartbeat. In the 7th month, something shifted. Thomas began to feel different when meeting with clients. He had an inner confidence that had not been there before. He found himself saying things he had not planned to say, asking questions he had not thought to ask. His interactions became easier, more natural, more effective. His closing rate began to climb. Deals that would have fallen through in the past somehow came together. Referral began flowing in from clients who had never referred before. By the end of the year, Thomas had shattered his previous records. And at the annual conference, he stood on the stage exactly as he had imagined, receiving the trophy he had felt in his hands 1,000 times in his nighttime practice. The 6 months of invisible growth had been essential. During that time, the subconscious was being reprogrammed. Old beliefs of mediocrity were being replaced with new beliefs of excellence. The inner change was occurring silently, invisibly, but certainly. And when the inner change was complete, the outer change manifested with a speed that astonished even Thomas. This is how the law works. The inner precedes the outer. The invisible precedes the visible. The mental precedes the material. You must trust this sequence and remain faithful during the period when nothing seems to be happening. That period is not empty. It is a gestation time during which your mental seeds are developing the strength to break through into physical manifestation. Now let us speak of a subtle but crucial point regarding the wealth frequency, the necessity of expecting abundance rather than merely hoping for it. Hope and expectation may seem similar, but they carry very different emotional frequencies, and the subconscious respond to them in very different ways. Hope contains within it an acknowledgement of uncertainty. When you hope for something, you are implying that it may or may not happen. You are leaving room for failure. You are not fully committed to the outcome. This uncertain feeling is what the subconscious receives, and uncertainty is what it produces in your experience. Expectation, on the other hand, contains certainty. When you expect something, you believe it will happen. You are mentally prepared for its arrival. You are not wondering if it will come, but simply awaiting its coming. This feeling of certainty is what the subconscious receives, and certainty is what it produces in your experience. Consider the difference in how you feel when you hope to receive a package versus when you expect to receive a package. When you merely hope, there's anxiety, doubt, wondering. When you expect, there's calm anticipation, confident knowing, readiness. The expectation frequency is the wealth frequency. The hope frequency is the uncertainty frequency. To activate your wealth frequency fully, you must move from hoping for prosperity to expecting prosperity. You must cultivate within yourself the unshakable conviction that abundance is yours by right of consciousness, that it is even now making its way to you, that its arrival is not in question but only its timing. This expectation is not arrogance. It is not presumption. It is alignment with truth. The truth is that infinite intelligence desires to express abundance through you. The truth is that the universe is fundamentally generous, overflowing with supply for all who know how to receive. The truth is that your prosperity is part of the divine plan, not a violation of it. When you expect abundance from this place of truth, you are not demanding or manipulating. You are simply opening yourself to receive what has always been yours. You are removing the barriers of doubt and unworthiness that have blocked the natural flow of prosperity into your life. Matthew 7 verse 7 promises, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." This is not a conditional promise. It does not say you might receive, you might find, it might be opened. The language is absolute. Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened. The universe operates on the law of expectation. What you confidently expect, you receive. Cultivate expectation through affirmation, visualization, and feeling. Each morning, before you rise from bed, take a moment to expect good for the day ahead. Affirm silently. Today, abundance flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. I expect increase. I expect opportunity. I expect the manifestation of my desires. Feel the expectation as a warm certainty in your solar plexus. Carry this feeling with you throughout the day. Each night, before you sleep, review the day and find evidence of your expectation being fulfilled. Perhaps it was a small thing, an unexpected compliment, a moment of synchronicity, a feeling of inner peace. Acknowledge it as confirmation that the law is working. Give thanks for it, and then expect even greater good tomorrow. This practice of daily expectation rewires your consciousness over time. It shifts your default setting from doubt to faith, from hope to certainty, from a frequency of lack to the frequency of abundance. And as your inner frequency changes, your outer experience must follow, for such is the law. We are approaching the culmination of this teaching, and I want to leave you with an understanding so deep, so unshakable, that it will sustain you through every challenge and carry you forward into the abundant life that is your destiny. You possess within you, at this very moment, everything needed to transform your financial life completely. You do not need more information. You do not need special circumstances. You do not need anyone's permission or assistance. The power is within you, and it always has been. This power is a subconscious mind, connected to infinite intelligence, responsive to your beliefs and feelings, endlessly creative in producing the outer experiences that match your inner states. This power has been operating in your life since the moment you were born. It has produced every experience you have had, including the limitations you have known. And it will produce every experience you will have, including the abundance that awaits you. The only difference between poverty and prosperity, between struggle and flow, between lack and abundance, is the nature of the impressions you make upon this power. Change the impressions, and you change the outcomes. It is as simple and as profound as that. I do not ask you to believe this blindly. I ask you to test it. Apply these principles with consistency and faith. Practice the techniques with dedication and patience. Give the law time to operate, trusting the invisible process of mental causation, and then judge by results. Every person who has ever achieved true prosperity has done so through the operation of these laws, whether they knew it or not. Their success was not luck. It was law. Their abundance was not random. It was a precise effect of mental causes. And what has worked for them will work for you, for the law is no respecter of persons. It operates the same for all. The teaching you have received is not merely information to be stored in your memory. It is a living transmission to be absorbed into your being. Let these words sink down past your intellect into your subconscious mind. Let them become part of your very identity. Let them reshape your beliefs about yourself and your relationship to wealth. You are not a poor person trying to become rich. You are infinite abundance itself, temporarily experiencing the illusion of limitation. That illusion was created by beliefs, and it will be dissolved by beliefs. The new beliefs you are now installing will shatter the old illusion and reveal the truth of your prosperous nature. Luke 12 verse 32 contains the words of the Master, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." The kingdom is not a place you must earn entry to. It is a gift that gives the Father pleasure to give. The infinite intelligence of the universe delights in your prosperity. It wants you to be rich. It is working even now to bring about your abundance. All that is required of you is that you receive. Receive by believing. Receive by feeling. Receive by expecting. Receive by persisting. Receive by aligning your inner frequency with the frequency of wealth. And as you receive internally, you will experience externally. The inner and outer will come into harmony, and you will walk in the abundance that has always been your birthright. As you go forward from this teaching, remember that you are not alone. The infinite intelligence that formed you sustains you. The creative power that shaped the universe is available to shape your experience. You are supported, guided, and loved beyond measure. Your prosperity is not in question. Only its timing remains, and that timing accelerates as your faith deepens. Many have walked this path before you and found it true. Many have activated their wealth frequency and witnessed miracles of manifestation. Many have moved from poverty to abundance, from struggle to flow, from fear to faith. Their success is evidence that the law works. Your success will be further evidence for those who follow. These teachings are offered for educational and inspirational purposes, as an original creation based on the universal principles of subconscious mind science that have been recognized across cultures and throughout centuries. They represent wisdom that belongs to no one because it belongs to everyone. Apply them with personal discernment. Test them against your own experience, and take inspired action in your own life. Your results will be your proof. I leave you now with this final blessing. May the frequency of abundance resonate within you from this moment forward. May your subconscious mind be impressed with prosperity, your imagination be filled with wealth, and your expectation be unwavering. May every seed you have planted in this sacred time of learning bring forth a harvest of 30, 60, and 100-fold. May you rise to the full stature of your prosperous nature and express the infinite abundance that you truly are. The power is within you. It has always been within you. And now, you know how to use it. Go forth and activate your wealth frequency. Go forth and become rich beyond your imagination. Go forth in faith, in peace, and in the absolute certainty that the Lord cannot fail. So it is spoken. So it is received. So it shall be.